What's going on, my fellow wealth creators? Matt AI's here. Welcome to another training. Today, I want to talk to my fellow business owners, and I want to share 5, maybe 6 reasons why I think it's really, really important for business owners right now to at least consider setting up an infinite banking policy. One, because of all the benefits that we get from it. Like, once you understand how these things work, it's kind of a no-brainer. But specifically when it comes to business, though, and like things like working capital and getting financing and things like that to operate your business, I think it's more important than ever to start considering setting up your own private banking system, not to completely cut out other financing options, but to give you more control within your life, within your business. Because I'm seeing a lot of articles. I even had a conversation with a friend of mine that is in the commercial lending industry, and he's seeing a lot of lenders close their doors. It's becoming a lot more difficult to access lines of credits and get the capital that business owners need, and which puts a strain on the business, obviously, right? So what are your options? Like, how are you going to respond to that? And having an infinite banking policy can absolutely help through times like this, where there's a lot of economic uncertainty and chaos. Like, nobody really knows what's going to happen. Banks are tightening. We just had our first major bank failure as well. I've done videos on this in the past. So having a large amount of our money in the banking system, is that really a good idea? Like, what happens if your bank shuts down? Okay, maybe you have FDIC insurance, but are you going to have access to that money? What if you need access to that money, right? So having something outside of the traditional banking and financing system to weather these types of storms is, in my opinion, a very prudent thing to do. So that's what I want to talk about in this video. The first thing, though, that I want to address, the first reason why I think it's really important for business owners to have an infinite banking policy is the competitive rates. So like right now, interest rates are really high. And so obviously that means it's more expensive to borrow money, to get financing, lines of credit, things like that. Like, the interest rates on those things are typically a lot higher right now. Well, with an infinite banking policy, and when I say infinite banking policy, guys, I'm talking about a dividend paying, a custom designed dividend paying whole life insurance policy that is structured for the infinite banking concept. That's what I mean by that. But the loan rate right now, the policy loan rate on for my whole life insurance policy right now is 5.5%. Now, maybe you can get lower than that. Maybe not, though, right now. I mean, because interest rates are pretty high at the moment. So you might even be able to lower your financing cost right now, wait for the interest rates to come back down, and then you can resume getting your traditional financing, lines of credit, et cetera. But having the option of getting a more competitive rate without having an application process, without having to put up personal collateral or anything, because the death benefit is in your policy, is the collateral for the policy loan, right? So and when you set these up for high cash value, which we typically do with infinite banking policies, you have access to the majority of your money within the first 30 days, and you can get that competitive rate. And like I said, there's no credit check, no application. You don't have to explain what you're going to use the money for. There's really no limits. Your only limit is whatever your cash value is on the amount that you can borrow against the policy. So if you have a good amount of cash sitting in the bank, doing nothing really, actually losing money to inflation, maybe you're earning a little bit of interest, but then you have to pay taxes on that, and whatever. And then, of course, you have the systemic risk of the banking system as well, right? Why not, like, if you're going to save money, if you're going to have that capital, why not store that capital in the most efficient vehicle possible, right? Where, and we're going to talk about some other reasons, other benefits that we get from doing that. But let me just finish up with the liquidity reason and the competitive rate. So just to recap, I've got some notes that I'm going over here. So you can access your money at any time without question. I literally just log into my online portal. I tell the life insurance company how much I need, and it's in my account in 2 to 3 business days. That's it. And like I said, it's right now it's 5.5% simple interest as well. So that's a whole other video on why paying the simple interest can be really powerful versus like amortized interest and stuff like that. But anyways, that's a different conversation. But no restrictions, no credit checks. Like I said, possibly lower interest rates, more competitive rate, et cetera. So that's reason number 1 that I think business owners should absolutely consider having an infinite banking policy right now. All right, number 2, Lack of control. Banks can turn off lines of credit. They can, make it more difficult to access capital and get financing, right? So whereas, a year or two ago, you could maybe call up the bank and say, hey, I need XYZ amount of money for XYZ purpose. Okay, sign here on the dotted line, we're good to go. But now as things tighten, things become, the economy shrinks, we get closer and closer to recession, banks start making it more difficult to access that capital. Well, what are you going to do? If you don't have the capital that you need to run and operate your business, how are you responding to that? Well, if you have cash, frequently within your business, instead of keeping it just in a traditional checking or savings account, whatever, why not finance your own private, use that to set up your own private banking system? You have access to 85-90% of it within the first 30 days, right? And now you don't need to ask permission to get financing in that scenario. Like I said, just tell the life insurance company how much you need. They send it to you, and that's it. You don't have to explain anything. There's no application, nothing. So it gives you more control of your business when it comes to the financing component of it. All right. Reason number 3 is the growth as well. So, whole life insurance is not an investment. Okay. It is a very efficient savings vehicle. All right. And we don't set it up for, rates of return. Okay. I hear all the time, like whole life insurance is a terrible investment. You should buy term and invest the difference, blah, 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 blah. It's not really a very good argument, because you're comparing apples to tater tots when you're saying whole life insurance is a terrible investment, because it's not an investment. With that said, it's a very efficient savings vehicle. So if I were to tell you that down the street, there's a bank that has an account you can open, it's going to pay you 4%, let's say 4%, because typically these policies will net 3.5% to 5% tax-free compound growth throughout the life of the policy. So if there was a savings account that was going to pay you 4% tax-free compound growth for life, would also allow you to use the money in that account without interrupting the compound process, to go build wealth or provide capital to your business, okay, without interrupting the compounding interest. All right. And it would also pay out a massive income tax-free death benefit to your loved ones if you were to pass away unexpectedly. Like, would you say that's a bad savings account? No, I think most people would say that's pretty freaking awesome for a savings account. Well, if you agree, then you just agreed and said yes to a dividend paying whole life insurance policy, because that's what it is. It's a very efficient savings vehicle. So if we have large amounts of capital on a regular basis, it's just sitting in an account, not really doing anything. Why not put that money in the most efficient vehicle possible, where it's going to get that 3.5% to 5% tax-free compound growth over the life of the policy? Why not do that while also getting the death benefit? You get living benefits as well. It's something, if you were to get diagnosed with a chronic, critical, or terminal illness, well, now you can access a large portion of that death benefit to get the care that you want, that maybe health insurance won't cover or long-term care insurance won't cover, right? Et cetera. So that's another major benefit is when you fund, or when you start your private banking system here with these infinite banking policies, okay, we're going to get that uninterrupted tax-free compound growth, but we could still use the money for things that we normally would anyways. Right. So that's where like when I started learning this stuff, it just kind of became a no-brainer. Like, I've got this large amount of capital over here. It's just sitting in this account doing nothing. Why not put it into a more efficient vehicle, and I can still use the money to go build wealth and finance my business? Just made sense to me. All right. Number 4. I touched on this a little bit, but I want to reiterate this, because I think this is really important. Reason number 4 is safety of our capital, guys. All right. So again, if you have capital in the banking system, like in a checking account or whatnot, is that safe? Maybe not. The other thing too is like I've heard stories of, if you listen to Grant Cardone's story, if things get really bad, the bank can call the loan as well, can call whatever financing you have, right? All of a sudden, do you have enough capital to cover that? So again, that goes back to more control as well, but also the safety aspect of it. Okay, like I said earlier, the money in the bank might be FDIC insured, which I think is just a scam. They are woefully undercapitalized with regards to their obligations. It's pretty pathetic. They, and it sounds like they have a lot too. It's like $100-200 billion to cover like $18 trillion of deposits. Really, to me, that's just a joke. But let's say, you believe in, you're okay with FDIC insurance, but have you ever gone through that process? Do you even know what it's like? Like, are you, maybe you'll eventually get your money back, but how long is that going to take? And what is that going to do to your business in the meantime from an operational standpoint? Where, if that money is locked up in receivership, or, going through that process because the bank failed, what do you do? Like, what happens to that money? I don't think a lot of people even really know what that process is like. So with these dividend paying whole life insurance policies, we set them up with mutually owned life insurance companies that have weathered every single financial disaster, chaos, world wars, all that stuff. Like, they've never missed a dividend payment. And it's because they are the best risk management companies in the world. They're extremely conservative. All right. There's companies that have paid dividends for over 150 years straight, meaning they pay dividends through the Great Depression, both world wars, the savings and loan crisis, 2008 crisis, the pandemic, like all of this, throughout all of the economic chaos, while banks have, like, tens of thousands of banks have failed over the last 150 years or so, these mutually owned life insurance companies have stood the test of time. They've weathered every single financial disaster, storm, call it whatever you want. So to me, it's actually so much safer to store my large amounts of capital that I use for emergencies, opportunities, building wealth, etc. Like the money that I would normally save and use to operate my business, it's so much safer with these mutually owned life insurance companies. And I still have very, very similar liquidity than if I were to have it in the bank. Like, I don't have a debit card or anything like that, but do I need that for my safe money, my working capital and stuff? Not really. And so I feel, I sleep so much better at night, and I'm also so much more productive in my business throughout the day because I'm not stressed out about what's happening in the banking system, in the financial system in general, because I know that my money is with, like, not all of my money. I'm not saying move all of your money out of the banking system, but I'm saying the large amounts of capital that I had in the bank, that I now moved into with these life insurance companies, I moved it into my policies. I feel so much better because I know I'm very, very confident based on their history that they know how to handle whatever it is that's happening right now, far better than I ever could, and far better than banks. Banks are sitting on massive unrealized losses right now. It is insane. And to think that people are storing large amounts of capital there, that's scary stuff. And if you just look at the history of banks, like, they do not have a good resume of being a safe place to store our working capital. It's ridiculous. Now, here's the other really cool benefit. Reason number 5, I think, that every business owner should consider an infinite banking policy, right? So it's the return of principal on your financing. So there's a lot of other benefits to this too, but I want to wrap up with this one. I might do a second video on the benefits for business owners on this, but this is really cool, guys. So when you take a policy loan, all right, and you start paying that loan back, you're actually just you're actually restoring the cash value in your policy. It's very similar to a line of credit, but does your line of credit get 3.5 to 5% tax-free compound growth every single year for the life of the policy? Does it provide a death benefit? Does it provide living benefits? No. But as far as when you're paying it back, it works very similar to a line of credit where that money is restored and you can use it again, versus like if you did a traditional loan or like equipment financing or something like that, where you borrowed the principal and the interest, right? And you're paying principal and interest to the bank or the lender. Okay, well, that principal is gone forever. Like, and there's a massive lost opportunity cost to that. So let's say, for example, let's say I take $100,000 loan, I pay back, I don't know, $110,000, right? Well, the $110,000 that I paid is gone forever. It's never going to be able to earn interest for me ever again. The great thing about these policies is that because we're borrowing the life insurance company's money, our money, that our cash value is actually going to continue to get that compound growth while we're using the money. And when we pay the policy loan back, it restores the principal, the cash value in our policy. It's kind of like we're putting the same dollars back into the policy, not the interest. The interest, you don't pay yourself interest with these policies, guys. That goes to the life insurance company. But the principal shows up again in cash value. So you're actually recapturing those principal payments and eliminating that lost opportunity cost. Guys, I've done videos and training on lost opportunity cost. It is woefully underappreciated, I guess, is the way to put it. Like how many tens of, like hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars that we lose over our lifetime due to lost opportunity costs is staggering, right? So if you can recapture some of that, man, it's from a long-term perspective, when it comes to our wealth, man, it makes a big difference. And again, just like a line of credit, when you start paying that loan back and something comes up, I could borrow that money again. And all the while, my money is continuing to get that compound growth. I have the death benefit, I have living benefits. It's just such a powerful financial vehicle when you understand it, when you fund it properly, when you use it properly. Man, infinite banking with these custom designed dividend paying whole life insurance policies are an absolute game changer for business owners. So I hope that was helpful, guys. I'll go ahead and wrap up there. I might do a part 2. Just going over additional benefits, but just a recap. So, one reason, lack of control, because you have to get permission to access capital. And if people, if the banks start to get more and more strict and have, I should say, stricter requirements to access capital, well, now we're not really in control of the capital that we need in order to operate our business. So that's reason number 1. Liquidity. Also there's no application, no credit checks. You don't have to explain what you're going to use the money for. You don't need personal collateral. You might even get a more competitive interest rate right now because interest rates are so high, minus 5.5% at the moment. You get that 3.5% to 5% tax-free compound growth that your line of credit is not going to do, that any other loan is not going to do. And again, I'm not saying not to use those things. I'm just saying if we have large amounts of capital, why not put it in the most efficient vehicle possible? Right? Safety from the banking and financial system, because banks are collapsing and sitting on massive unrealized losses. There's potential bail-ins as well. Like if you read the Dodd-Frank Act from 2008, banks actually are able to do bail-ins now instead of having bailouts from taxpayers. I encourage you to go read that. It's pretty scary. Look up Cyprus. I think it was in Greece. Look up what happened there. Could absolutely happen here now. And then finally, the return of your principal from financing. So instead of giving all of your principal and interest to a traditional banking system and incurring that lost opportunity cost, well, you can borrow from your own banking system, put the money, put the principal back. It restores that cash value. The only cost of doing that is the little bit of simple interest that you paid. Very, very small cost of doing business when it comes to setting up our own private banking system here, guys. It's really powerful. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have questions and feedback, please drop them down in the comment section below. Make sure you check out the links in the description as well. I have some really good additional training and resources about infinite banking, these dividend paying whole life insurance policies, how I set my policies up and design them. Make sure you check that out. And if you ever want to have a conversation about this, I'll have a link to my calendar down below. Feel free to book a call. All right. Hope you guys are crushing it, and I will talk to you in the next one. To your success. Matty S is out.